I do this kind of often, and when I first started filming YouTube videos, I kind of thought of it as a bit of a joke that I did that is kind of ridiculous, but sometimes when I film multiple videos in a day, I add a certain element to my outfit to change it so it doesn't look like I filmed all of the videos in a day. It's become something that I do because I don't want my videos to be me just wearing the same outfit because I filmed 3 videos in a day. So, hi, here's a jumper. This actually looks quite cute. It's a little warmer outside than this jumper requires, but hey. Hello, my name's Romy. Cassie Baby's having a sleep, and today we are reviewing The Girl Who Circumnavigated Fairyland and a Ship of Her Own Making by Catherine and Valente. And I'm so excited. So this book, I've said this before, sometimes I have gone into books knowing for sure that I will love them, knowing that they're still going to be my favourite, and that hasn't been the case, but some books you just know. Enter The Girl Who Circumnavigated Fairyland and a Ship of Her Own Making by Catherine and Valente. This was one of my favourite books the first time I ever heard it. Now, I think this is the first time I have ever read this book. I first listened to it on audiobook and have since listened to the audiobook around 20 times. And I read all the other books in the series, but this one I never read. This one I read for the first time, and although I knew the story and the audiobook is absolutely glorious, I've only listened to the first book on audiobook. It's narrated by Catherine and Valente, and my goodness, it is probably the best audiobook I have ever listened to. It's amazing, it's astonishing, it's so beautiful. And reading it is like a whole other thing. Like, it's like they're 2 distinct stories, because there's the narrative version and there's the version that you read yourself. And there were definitely elements in this book that I hadn't picked up on, or that just had a different significance to me upon reading it myself. And this book. So when I first listened to it, I was in love. I was like, oh my gosh, this is different. This is beyond anything I've ever read before. I adore this, and I think it was instantly like in my top favourites. And for the longest time, since I think maybe 2008 when I first read it, My Family and Other Animals by Gerald Durrell has been my favourite book of all time. Now it is The Girl Who Circumnavigated Fairyland in a Ship of Her Own Making by Catherine and Valente, and I mean, it's gonna be a positive review in case you weren't sure. This is literally my favourite book of all time, and I just adore it. Throughout reading all of the books in the series, they're all illustrated by the same person, and there's just really like, there's the cover illustration and then there's chapter illustrations. So it's illustrated by Anne Wan, and the illustrations, while I enjoy them, and I think the style of them in a way definitely fits the story, the picturing of the characters is something that in a lot of different books I prefer to do myself. Sometimes, like, I love illustrated books, but sometimes I prefer picturing the characters myself, and I feel like the illustrations don't necessarily align with how the characters are in my head. So that's like probably the one thing that I didn't love, but I still like the illustrations. I think they're a pretty darn good fit for this book. And oh my gosh, this book, it is like literal magic. It's like literal magic. It's the story that I needed when I first read it. And it's the story that I think I need every single day of my life. It's a reminder of magic and joy and hardship and working for what you want and going on marvellous adventures and being open to the world. And it's just such a multi-layered story that you get more out of and different elements out of every time you read. And my goodness, I just absolutely adore it. So there's 5 books in this series, and I'm very, very excited to read the rest of them. but this one is always gonna hold like the place of pride. Pride of place in my heart, because it's like the original. You know, sometimes in a series, the first book is just, it's the beginning of everything. It's the one you know the best. Like, I have listened to this audiobook so many times and I know it practically by heart. And yet, you're still finding new things each time. And it's just... I can't describe this book other than smiling, just saying how incredibly stunning it is, and just describing it with the word magic, because that is it. September is a character unlike any character I've ever met, and yet she is just a human, and she's so real, and she's so easy for me to identify with and want to be best friends with. She has so many qualities that are admirable. And she's so strong, but she allows herself to be weak as well. She's not someone who strides off into adventure and doesn't let anything touch her. She has emotional moments. She has decisions that she regrets and decisions that are really, really hard to make, and she makes them anyway. And she is just ruddy stunning. September is both the character I want to be in every single one of my own stories, the character I only want to read about forever, and someone I want to be best friends with. I adore September, and all of the other characters in this book. There's Elle, the Wiverary, who is like my best friend. There's Saturday, the Marid, who is just so sweet and kind and fragile, and I adore him. There's the Marquis, who I dressed up as for Halloween once, and who is one of the most fearsome, terrifying villains I have ever read, and is so brilliantly weaved. It's magic. It's like reading... It's like reading magic. And I could go on and on and on and on about how much I just truly adore this book. But suffice to say, it is literal magic. Literal magic. So that's all from me. That's all from Kirsty. And here's to more books and plenty of magic.